What if creation was not something that happened once a long time ago, in a moment you missed? What if it is happening right now, here, inside this moment, inside this breath, inside the arising of every new experience? There is an ancient map of how consciousness moves, a living description of what is actually occurring in every single moment of awareness. It is drawn thousands of years ago, yet it is still accurate to this very breath, this very moment, right now. 5 movements, 5 acts. The ancient teachers called them the Pañcakṛtya, the 5 divine functions of consciousness, always simultaneous, always present. Now, before we go any further, this is not religion. There is no belief required here, no initiation, no tradition to join or deity to worship. The Pañcakṛtya is a map, one of the most precise maps of human experience ever drawn. And like any good map, its value is not in the map itself, but in whether it helps you recognize the territory you are already standing in. Regardless of if you are a physicist or a meditator or someone who has never even once in their life thought about consciousness, we are all living these 5 movements right now, whether we know it or not. Knowing their names simply means you can begin to see what was already happening. The first, Sṛṣṭi, creation. Right now a thought is arising, a sound is appearing, a feeling is taking shape from nothing, becoming something, entering the field of your awareness. This is Sṛṣṭi, this is creation happening here, now. The second, Sthiti, sustenance. That thought, that sound, that feeling is now being held, maintained, given the space to exist for as long as it exists. Something in you is sustaining it effortlessly, without instruction, the way the sky sustains everything that moves across it. This is Sthiti, the quiet holding of everything that is. The third, Saṃhāra, dissolution. And now it is fading. The thought completes itself. The sound recedes. The feeling passes like the weather passes. Simply return to the sky it arose from. Saṃhāra, not destruction, not loss, but reabsorption, everything returning to the vast that it always arose from. These 3 most people can feel if they pay attention, but there are 2 more, and these are the ones that change everything. The 4th, Tirodhāna, concealment. This is the act by which consciousness steps behind a curtain of its own making, the forgetting. The moment awareness becomes so absorbed in what it is experiencing that it forgets it is the one doing the experiencing. Tirodhāna, consciousness not losing itself, but deliberately veiling itself. The way an actor becomes so fully absorbed into the character they forget for the duration of the performance that they are playing a role. This is not a failure. This is the game deepening. Concealment is what makes the experience feel completely real, total, immersive, undeniably alive. And the fifth, Anugraha, the sudden remembering. The moment something simple shifts. Anugraha, that which descends rather than arrives, that which is given rather than achieved. Concealment was never meant to be permanent. The remembering arrives on its own terms, in its own time, like light finding a crack it was always going to find. A piece of music that moves you without warning. A moment of stillness so complete, the sense of being separate briefly dissolves. A grief so total, it cracks the ordinary self open. Something vast looks through it. These are not accidents. These are Anugraha, grace, consciousness remembering itself through you. So why does any of this matter? Because most human suffering arises from mistaking one of these 5 movements for something it is not. We experience dissolution, Saṃhāra, and call it loss, failure, ending. We experience Tirodhāna, the forgetting, and call it being broken, being lost, being fundamentally wrong in some way that we cannot name. We wait for Anugraha, for grace, as though it were a reward for sufficient suffering, rather than the nature of consciousness itself, moving in its own time towards its own remembering. When you can recognize which act is moving through you in any given moment, something shifts. The dissolution is no longer only loss. The forgetting is no longer only darkness. And the grace, when it comes, is recognized for what it always was. And this is not only something to understand. It is something you can begin noticing even right now. Choose any experience, the simplest one available. A sound in the room, the feeling of breath moving in and out, a thought arising as you listen to this voice. Watch it appear, Sṛṣṭi. Notice it being held, sustained in awareness for this moment, for this breath, for this heartbeat, Sthiti. Now watch it fade, the sound softening, the breath completing, the thought dissolving back into silence, Saṃhāra. And then notice just for a moment the one who is now watching, the one awareness in which every experience is arising and passing. Rest here, even for one breath. That is the opening through which Anugraha moves. Grace arriving in its own terms, in its own time. 5 movements, one awareness. Pañcakṛtya, a happening now. The dancer forgot it was dancing. Then the music changed, and in one unguarded moment, the dance remembered it had always been the dancer.